In this video, I'm going to show you how I edited the SPEC ad, show you guys some behind the scenes footage, and talk with my friend Ashton, who is the director of photography on this project. So yeah, Ashton, maybe you can tell the people a little bit about your history and cinematography and your experience.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Ashton Heroin, aka Sharp Cheddar. And yeah, I reside in Burlington, Vermont, and have been in the cinematography world for going on 20 years now. Yeah, I started off doing mainly narrative storytelling, and then also have done a bunch of commercial, so narrative, commercial, music video, documentary, corporate, obviously tabletop. But yeah, just trying to get into more of the tabletop world. I like the idea of just working in a controlled environment, but certainly love the narrative stuff, and any opportunity I get to work on narrative, then that's where my heart's at.
Yeah, storytelling for sure. I think that's something we connected on too in the beginning when we first met, telling stories and just connecting on that for sure. I definitely suggest for anybody watching to go check out Ashton's, his work and his social medias. He's pretty insane as far as his work. He's a genius. So definitely check that out. So yeah, how did the idea come to mind? What did you want to execute when you came up with the idea?
Yeah, so first of all, we chose Maurice Sharp because my fiance and I, we sling these tostadas at the farmers markets during the summer.
That's
and
right.
They're Belizean inspired, and so Maurice Sharp is a Belizean hot sauce, and so we have plenty of it lying around, and so I figured it would be fun to explore shooting something with fire, just to kind of give off that vibe, that heat. Also, work in the reflection. Went to a local plastic store here and got some black acrylic. And so that was sort of the foundation. And then just sort of tinkered around a little bit, put one bottle on the black acrylic initially, and then worked in the other two. I saw something online with, I think it was Tabasco and some flames. And so that also inspired me. But I wanted to create some more movement and energy. We did some DIY stuff where we got a dowel from Lowe's and some sticky tack, adhered that to the back of the bottle, and then Morgan was pulling it through the other two bottles, and then in post you reversed it.
Right.
And the reason for doing that was just so we could hit our mark, so to speak, like the hero shot where
Right.
the hot sauce is front row and center. That was the way we tackled it, and then got some lighter fluid and just kind of drew a line behind the bottle there. And so the first step was to get the smoke genie going. So we got a bunch of smoke in the air, and then we lit the lighter fluid on fire, and then gave it a couple beats just so we knew we had some time where the hot sauce was on its mark, looking good.
Right.
And then for a couple seconds, Morgan pulled the dowel back, and that was it.
Yeah, and it helped because when I reversed it in post, the point where the flame was the strongest was technically right where it needed to be, because it just worked out that way. So when you reversed it was just at its strongest point, which helped as well. So that was cool.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Sure. For the first shot, that was the hero shot, and then the second shot you wanted to get a little closer, right?
Yeah, so the second shot, put it on a little dolly or a lazy Susan, and then I put the camera on this guy right here.
Yeah. I want to call it like Wally for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's a good name for it. And then just, the bottle was going one direction and this was going the other. So if this was going from left to right, the bottle was going from right to left.
Right.
Just to create a little more parallax. And it was such a minute move. It was, maybe 6 inches. And then I also had a diopter in front of the lens. So it was the Blackmagic 6K Pro with a +3 diopter, I believe, on a 35mm lens. And I had to stop down to maybe a 4-5-6 split just to make sure everything was crispy.
Yeah.
And that was still tricky because things were moving. Yeah, and then you spiced it up in Premiere and After Effects.
Yeah, there was plenty of wiggle room because it was such a slow. The pacing of it was great, so it left a ton of wiggle room for me to transition. A little speed ramp at the beginning of the clip just to kind of bring that framing of the logo to the center, so like you really can get that, because it's quick. It's a quick cut, but it's centered right there, so you can really get the most of it. And then, just that speed ramp out. There was plenty of wiggle room, which was super helpful. For the Morgan throwing her hair back, that was a whole setup in of itself, it looked like.
Yeah, that was pretty simple. So I had the Amaran 150 with a spotlight attachment on it, just hitting the background, sort of a theatrical spotlight look on the background, and had Morgan standing in front of it so that she would be in silhouette. And then I had rigged with two Shorty C stands, some Aperture MT Pros in front of the lens. And I had the camera left one flickering. I set the fire effect on that one. And then the camera right MT Pro was just a red hue. And in retrospect, I probably would have had them both going. And then I had the Smoke Genie. I was hand holding that underneath the camera, and the smoke was just kind of coming up. And then I was just panning from right to left. And then you do all what you can practically in camera.
Always, yeah.
And then the next step is you put it in someone's hands. I can elevate it. Yeah, I just try and do as much as I can in camera.
As you guys can see, we have this lighting diagram that Ashton did up, super detailed. Ash, if you just want to go through, how you went about setting all this up, what each light is meant to do, and just give us your thoughts.
Yeah, totally. So I did this in the Citus Link app, which is Aperture's app. And with tabletop cinematography, I generally start with the key light just to get a big, broad brush stroke. And in this case, it's 90 degrees off the camera axis, and it's 90 degrees off camera right. And it was an Aperture 600D Pro outfitted with a light dome or softbox, and that was going through a 6x6 of unbleached muslin. So a double break coming from camera right, because it's going through the softbox or the light dome, and then it's going through the 6x6 muslin.
Right.
So just a big soft source, and I try and get it as close as I can to the product without being in frame, just to make it as big and soft as possible. So that was the first step, and then the second step for me was to set up a Jolico, which was to the right of the 600 Pro, and it was basically a camera right edge on the bottle. And both these units, the Aperture 600D and the Jolico, are daylight, so it was just a big daylight push coming from the right.
Yep.
And then so the Jolico, it's a 400 watt Joker Bug HMI, and then it's outfitted with a Lico. The front barrel of a Lico. So you can work the blades in and you can shape the light. And I just wanted a harder edge on the right side of the bottle. And then I had a 4x floppy to the right of both those units, just killing any light that was hitting the background. And then I worked in a background light. So that was the Amaran 150C with the Spotlight SC adapter on it with a red hue dialed in just to hit the background.
Yep.
And it was more of a slash, but it doesn't really resonate as well with the smoke and the fire. So it might be worth showing, everyone the shot we did, because we did do a take without smoke and fire.
That's
and
right.
The lighting more aware of itself there. So
for sure,
I think, you can see the effect more of the lighting. So yeah, I did the background light, and then I worked in an Aperture 60X, and that was tungsten, and that was coming in camera left, edging out the bottles and just giving them a little bit of a glow, giving the sauce a little bit of a glow, because without it, it felt a little dead. There was no life to the hot sauce. You couldn't really register the color, the true color of the sauce in the bottle.
Right.
Yeah. So then next to that, I worked in the black side of a V flat, and then wrapped around with another 4x floppy. And then behind camera was a 6x6 black solid. So it's really just working in either a white or black to make sure you take care of reflections or create highlights.
Right.
And then on the inside of the V flat, I had just some white show card with some gold paper, shiny paper attached to it.
Yep.
And on the left of the bottle, you can see it's subtle, but it's there. There's kind of a gold line going down the left side of the bottle.
Yeah.
And that's
it's a great reflection. Yeah. It's the small things that really add up.
Totally. Yeah. It's all these little nuances. And then we had a Godox light flow panel just to the right of that. And actually you can see that reflection. It's more centered on the bottle. It's to the left. It's justified to the left, but it's just above the specialty edition writing in cursive.
Yeah. I see it right here.
behind the table, we had an Amaranth PT4C, 4-foot tube with a grid on it, just going straight up. And the idea there was to kind of help backlight some of the smoke, which the Aperture 60X also did come in from the camera left side. You can see the smoke on the left. It's got that kind of yellowish hue to it. And then camera right on the table were the Aperture MT Pros. One was red, and then one was, it wasn't tungsten, but it was like a golden amber. The red one, you can see some of the red on the, very subtly. And then the Aperture with the golden hue, I was trying to do what the 60X was doing on the left side. Was struggling a little bit to get that effect to work, but it's there subtly. And then after that, it just sort of comes together. I don't know. I'd love to hear actually what you did.
So for this first clip, this is the hero shot. I ended up moving the clip into an After Effects composition here and doing a scale. Easy eased those to make it nice and smooth. I did my speed ramping in Premiere as well because the time for the bottle to come into frame took a little longer than I wanted it to. So I just speed ramped the beginning here so the bottle came into frame way earlier and used that keyframe to match the bottle coming into the frame. Just match the motion with it, using a transform tool here in Premiere Pro. Then I used the transform tool here in Premiere Pro on the linked composition just to have a nice constant zoom out, so there's a little bit of motion going on. And at the very end here, I do a quick zoom in about 5 frames. As you can see, as we go from this clip, it zooms in from both frames. So this zoom in at the end is just to kind of help transition that zoom from the first clip into the second clip. So very, very simple stuff. The other thing I did on this clip was I used a mask to mask out the logo here to help brighten it. As you can see, if I turn it off, it's way darker. So I just used that to brighten that up so you could really see the logo. I just put a Lumetri color on this layer, then I masked it out using the pen tool, and then I think I just upped the highlights, contrast, a little bit of the whites here. So again, to match this zoom transition that I have at the end of that first clip into the second clip, I brought this clip into After Effects as well, and I keyframed the beginning of it just to help match that quick motion. It's a quick zooming motion, so I just wanted to have like a quick short speed ramp at the beginning of the second clip. Once I brought this second clip into After Effects, I just did a simple transform scale in here just to kind of match again that scale in from the last clip, and then I did a constant scale in just to kind of keep some constant movement going here. Now you can see here we have this awesome transition at the end where the bottle moves from the left to right. I tried to wait until the bottle was turned just a little bit so that motion from the left to the right made more sense as the bottle was turning. So instead of it just being a left to right, it was kind of a turning left to right, if that makes any sense. So all I did was mask out the bottle, and then I used a position swipe keyframe, added some motion blur to it, and then I put the final clip underneath, which matches up pretty nicely here. And then I just also added a zoom in on this bottom clip, which is our model here, flinging the hair back. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I did this effect. It's super easy. You're just using a mask. So I'm going to take my 2 clips here. I'm going to put them into an After Effects composition. So say we took the clip right about here when it starts to turn. I'm actually going to duplicate this clip here, move this in. I'm going to make a freeze frame. I'm actually going to drag this here, and then I'm going to bring this original clip back underneath. Once we go into our pen tool here, we're going to mask out this bottle. I'm going to hold shift to just make a straight line. We're going to mask out this entire thing here. Now you can't really tell, but this clip underneath is on the left side here because we just masked out the bottle. All I did was turn on this cube guy right here, transform, and then I did a position keyframe. So I'm going to position it here, go to the end of it, and then I'm going to drag it all the way out of the frame. You can even feather your mask if you want to make those edges a little smoother. So if I bring it back over here, say I did like 5, you can't really see, but if I turn that up a bunch, you'll see it smooths those edges out. Now you can see we have that motion where it moves off screen, and you might need to change how long this transition is. So I'm actually going to restart the keyframe here, come out to the end of the clip, and move it all the way out of the frame. Make sure to click and drag this keyframe all the way to the end of the clip. Super important. Now I'm going to easy by highlighting and pressing F9, which will smooth that transition. I'm going to turn on the motion blur here. You know, that's the basic idea of the transition. Obviously, I spent a lot of time, you know, making sure that transition looked clean. This is just quick to show you guys how easy it is to do something like this, and just to get the general idea of how to do it. I think I actually ended up dragging out the original clip and just doing like a very quick keyframing of the opacity to help transition the changing of the frame back here. So say I just, you know, drag that out a few frames, transform opacity, bring it from 100 to 0 here. I'm just going to ease them because why not? That just kind of helps eases the transition of the frames in the background there. Very subtle stuff, but it just helps it make it look, you know, cleaner. It's as simple as that. It's just a very simple mask freeze frame transition. Biggest things for doing this kind of transition is just enabling that motion blur and making sure the transition doesn't last, you know, too long. This is my original timeline here. The only thing I did on this last clip was a little scale in just to kind of bring her into the frame. You can see as the bottle goes out of frame, she kind of zooms in on the frame of her whipping her hair. I just wanted to give it some more impact. Now to spice up the video a little bit, I wanted to add some embers, some fire in post because this is a hot sauce. So fire kind of just goes hand in hand. I ended up just taking these embers that I found online, changing the blend mode to screen. As you can see, we have these nice sparks as we go frame by frame here, especially at the end. I ended up taking this clip here of the embers and masking out the bottle because I wanted the focus, once it zoomed into the bottle, to be strictly on the logo, and I didn't want anything interfering with the viewer being able to read the logo. So all I did was just mask out the bottle, and then I had the sparks, you know, coming up from behind it. And as you can see here, as we go through the frame, I just use this other ember transition, which comes in front of the bottle. But as long as I have those quick few frames of just the bottle without any sparks in front of it, that was what I cared about the most. Very simple to do. You know, just go up to your pen tool, click the pen, and then draw your mask around wherever you want it. I ended up feathering the mask a little bit here. Had to mask the path because as the bottle moves, the mask needs to move as well. So I just went frame by frame and moved the mask. Then at the end here, I just have a super easy keyframed opacity to bring the logo in, and then some embers to help transition it out. So that's it for this editing breakdown, guys. Super simple stuff. Again, just some keyframes, some speed ramping, a little bit of masking, you know, very easy stuff. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I hope I was able to properly break this down for you guys. Thank you to my buddy Ashton for taking the time to talk, you know, go through his process of creating this whole project. If you guys like this video, consider liking and subscribing. I try and post every week. Life has been super busy, but I'm trying to get out videos, you know, the best I can. I'd love to get on an every Monday schedule. That's my plan going forward. We'll see if I can stick to that, but I'm really going to try. I'll see you guys in the next video. Catch you later.